Zion, Sinai, Sagism, and keep it simplest, small. Moses misunderstood. Verily, Moses is the most misunderstood person who ever lived. Missing the point origin is not the same as the point origin is missing. I choose the former over today's high-speed wreck. Moses left it behind at Genesis 1:1a/Aleph, and I recovered it from the dustbin Genitza of the sages. At least that much we know now from our recovery of the universal principle of knowledge of paradise Kabbology. Residue from the baby bang. This is an off-off midrash on the front and back narratives of Zion and Sinai in the tradition of the Tanakh Bible. Broadly speaking, the theme is on the role that Sagism plays in the Zion of the prophets and on the Sinai of the Torah. Our thesis is that unless there's an indelible residue from the revelation of the Torah to Moses at Mount Sinai, the default thinking is taking the authority of Sagism at its word. Definitions approach. Let's start with the definitions to the characters of our protagonists as these are attested in the Tanakh Bible. Zion, parched land. This term of Zion, parched land, first appears in prophets at 2 Samuel 5:7. Quote, "But David captured the stronghold of Zion, parched land. It is now the city of David." Sinai Thorny. Let's now move on to Sinai. This term first appears at Midbar Sinai, thorny wilderness, in Exodus 19:1. Quote, "On the third new moon, after the Israelites had gone forth from the land of Egypt, on that very day they entered the Midbar Sinai, thorny wilderness." Revelation and manifestation. Sinai occurs in the Torah as part of revelation, whereas Zion occurs in the prophets as part of manifestation. The question now is, how do these two relate to each other to make a whole out of complex parts? Which is the norm or model, and which is the representation conforming to it? Zion is seen as the homeland for Jews. Sinai is seen as the religion of Judaism. Jacob and Israel. The complexity which we encountered in defining Sinai and in a lesser degree Zion parallels that of defining who or what is Israel, respectively. And telling from the above, this parallels the difficulty of defining universal knowledge in the greater scheme of things. All we know about Israel is in the name change from Jacob to Israel in Genesis 32:29. Quote, "Said he, Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with Elohim and humans and have prevailed." Blind faith and keep trying. Which is preferable between blind faith of the Goyins or endless struggle of Israel? Fix it since it's broken. No le busques tres pies al gato. There's nothing wrong with seeking personal salvation, but what about the world left behind? Chosen is for a task and not for privilege. It's about struggling to understand the Creator as creative creatures of creation and not just being told by authority what is the case. Knowing is creating from something. Paradise Kabbology comes to the rescue as person S/beliefs, D, values R, actions P. Torah and Messiah. The Torah of Revelation is whole, complete, with nothing missing. This means not requiring a Messiah later on to bring the missing piece to complete the puzzle. What is missing is what was missed by the Sagists. The missed point origin has been there since creation, and more recently since the interface between revelation and manifestation of Moses. We've recovered it as science, logos, of reception of the tradition Kabbalah as paradise Kabbology. Weekdays and weekend. The double standards of Baal idolatry means leading a worldly life on weekdays, and a heavenly life on weekend, Shabbats, or Sundays or Fridays. In the Torah, gods, says rest on Shabbat from work, but as an integral part of the weekend and the weekdays, not as two mutually excluding domains. Shabbat means rest in Genesis 28:8. Quote, "Remember the Shabbat day and keep it holy." being holy as set apart / Now we're finally on the right track, once having followed the trail of the definition of Israel as one struggling with Elohim and with men and prevailing. We went from Shabbat unto holiness, but what is to be holy? Leviticus 19:2, quote, "Speak to the whole Israelite community and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, your God, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, am holy." Holy means set apart, as in Shabbat is holy / set apart, Workdays DRP. Servers and leads. Translation is interpretation. The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Rabbinism of Rabbinic Judaism has been the gatekeeper since the end of the Second Temple and the diaspora. Case in point is Exodus 19:6. It says, "You shall be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." It should say, "You shall be for me a kingdom of servers and a nation of leaders. These are the words that you shall speak to the children of Israel." Double negatives. In a binary world of 0 and 1, like in artificial intelligence of pluses and minuses, a double negative gives a positive. But what about in a coin, heads, tails, and rim? Suddenly, the negative criterion could equally give positive or negative. Fighting anti-Semitism. The case in point is the slogan of fighting anti-Semitism. We all know what fighting anti-Semitism means because we know what anti-Semitism is. But does anyone know what anti-Semitism means because they know what Semitism is? In plain English, is the cheap amusement park the shell game of guessing where to find the positive amongst the negative and the double negative. Where the buck stops. This is where it gets tricky. Take the case in Spanish. Beginning is principio and principle is principio as well. Let's identify principle with the creator. This is as in principle of the beginning and beginning as creation, giving us the beginning of the beginning. But there's also the cross terms. There's also the principle of the beginning and beginning of the principle. These could be identified as creative and creature respectively. The residue of Revelation paradise. It stands to reason that if there's Elohim gods as God of gods in the heavens, then there must be a correspondent paradise principle of principles on earth, that is, with gods spelled with capital G and italicized S. It can only be as the residue of revelation at Mount Sinai to Moses at Genesis 1:1a/Aleph of the Torah teaching. The universal principle of knowledge is /DRP. The deal is sealed if we manage to couple Zion to Sinai in a convincing manner. Revelation at Sinai S/manifestation at Zion DRP, inspiration D, enlightenment R, erudition P. Rabbinism is just a school of interpretation of the Torah, post Second Temple and diaspora. Israel is not Rabbinism. That much is clear so far. Dualism and holism. Once understanding holism as paradise, the pending question is how to properly define dualism. As things stand at present, it's certainly the product of misunderstanding. If holism is S/Triadism is DRP, then dualism is misconstrued something like S-D/RP or S-R/P with variant S function of D or D function of S or S-D. There are basically two dualisms of S function of D R/P or else D function of S R/P. The trick is where to place a slash, separating the one whole S from /triad parts DRP. That is, if this were the case, we would then have R/S function of D P or else R/D function of S P. Sagism. There's a saying in management that if you want to hide something, bury it under a pile of data. This is otherwise known as too many trees, very little forest. Sagism is 99% right, only 1% off, missing the point origin. The sages self-appointed to sages with the oral Torah, all under the incense smoke screen. As rabbinism, they added as backup the coming of the Messiah just to keep proof every day from happening. Zion and Sagism is Zionism. In plain words, S function of D R/P means that revelation is a function of inspiration, that enlightenment serves as bridge, and that erudition is manifestation. This seems to be saying that Zion, the city of David, Jerusalem, the land of Israel, has primacy over everything else. This invariably leads to endless wars and elusive peace. Chosenness as supremacy? The thing is that revelation is holy, as in set apart from manifestation and in no way entangled to or with it. Holy is the slash of set apart of S from /DRP. Sinai and Sagism is Sinaiism. In plain words, the function of S R/P means that inspiration is a function of revelation, that enlightenment serves as bridge, and that erudition is manifestation. This seems to be saying that the oral Torah tradition of rabbinism has primacy over everything else. This invariably means that chosenness is leading a careless existence on account of messianism. Chosenness as privilege? Each is self-righteous, zealot, or messianic, and sees no need beyond other than turning the clock back or pushing it fast forward, respectively. Mono/dualism or uni/triadism. It's high time to wrap things up. Zion plus Sagism gives Zionism, but what is it if not dualism? Likewise, Sinai plus Sagism gives Sinaiism, but what is it if not monism? Thus, we arrive at monism plus dualism, or mono/dualism, using the slash between them. I'm not sure if my view is Sephardic and Usim, but paradise Kabbology is not the norm. Sinai is the Torah of revelation, while Zion is the prophets of inspiration, enlightenment, and erudition. For comparison, is one whole is and becomes triad parts. This comes across as 1/triad, or for convenience as uni/triadism. Reading and viewing. My book at Amazon, quote, The Sweet Spot, subtitle, All Revealing Yet Hiding in Plain View, and my video, Paradise Kabbology Isn't Panacea, It Only Cures Stupidity. My YouTube channel at Rick Turullols-Bonilla. Yours truly, Ricardo Turullols-Bonilla. Thank you.